And so we really think that if we can connect the dots amongst all these stakeholders and streamline access to trusted care, it'll be great for patients. It'll be a triple win. It'll be great for patients, great for treatment centers, and incredible for the demand side professionals who now have much more time and resources to dedicate to their superpowers.
I'm here with Andrew Steen at the Harvard iLab, startup founder, and I'd love to know a little bit about your startup. But first of all, you're at Harvard. What degree programs are you in?
Yeah, I'm doing the joint business school law school program, and so in my 4th year of that out of 4 years. So ready to graduate for
ready
sure.
to graduate. Yeah. That makes sense. And why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what you were doing before?
Yeah, so before school, I was in the military for a little bit over 5 years. It was a really great experience. I learned a ton, met some incredible people, felt like I really grew as a person, and enjoyed not every minute of it, but most minutes of it, and just happy to be here now.
Yeah, I think if you enjoy every minute of the military, you might not actually be in the military. You're in some other job.
Correct. It's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but obviously you're in the JD MBA program and you've started a company. What is the kind of impetus for you starting this company, and what problem are you addressing with it?
Yeah, so really what we're trying to do at Laptis is streamline access to trusted substance use treatment. And so something that we came across through some personal experiences and some experiences with our own colleagues and friends is that finding substance use treatment is an incredibly difficult process. It takes forever. I mean, if you need to look for treatment, you're going to fight through a bunch of Google searches, endless cold calls, these arduous intake forms, and it really takes days, hours, weeks to find what's out there. And so that fleeting moment of motivation for someone to go to treatment is often gone by the time that they actually know where they can go and the place can receive them. And so this landscape is really bad for patients and those in need of treatment. It's also really bad for treatment centers, meaning they spend a ton of money and resources and time and energy just like finding people to come to their facilities and managing wait lists and all of these things, which is obviously, resources that could be better spent towards care. And then we also view a third class of stakeholders, which we call the demand side professionals, as someone who can benefit from our solution. These are the frontline social workers, care navigators, clinicians, lawyers who constantly have clients and patients that need to go to treatment, and they themselves have to refer their patients to treatment, which means that they spend hours every single day just looking for what's out there. And they have professional specialties that every minute they're looking for treatment is a minute that they can't do client-facing work. And so we really think that if we can connect the dots amongst all these stakeholders and streamline access to trusted care, it'll be great for patients. It'll be a triple win. It'll be great for patients, great for treatment centers, and incredible for the demand side professionals who now have much more time and resources to dedicate to their superpowers.
So creating these streamlined connections for substance use disorder treatments, it sounds really snappy, but the healthcare system is a complex tapestry, is a nice way of putting it. How did you go about learning about this space?
Yeah, so I think from my time in the military, unfortunately substance use disorder is very common there, and it was just a present thing in my life and really impacted some people in horrible ways. And so it was something I always felt was just like an unacceptable part of our society, but honestly didn't think I could do much about it as a non-clinician. And then I, say fast forward to about a year ago, I noticed that a bunch of public defenders were spending forever just looking for treatment for their clients, right? They were calling places over and over and over again, sending emails, faxes, leaving voicemails, filling out the same form endlessly. And this seemed horrible for the patient and just not a good use of our resources to have lawyers be doing this. And so after that, I kind of looked more into it and said, okay, yes, this healthcare system is a patchwork of a lot of things, a lot of adjectives you can throw in there. And so we said, well, let's just take a really specific focus, which is this SUD referral problem, try to get that right. And then from there, after that works, we can see what else we can do. But we're hyper focused on this SUD referral problem as a way to kind of mitigate the the overwhelming complexity of the broader healthcare space.
Overwhelming complexity is certainly a way to describe healthcare from my own work in it. It's complicated, and anybody who's worked in that space knows that. So you talked about a few different stakeholders, and I want to think maybe a little bit more of in a meta way. As a startup founder, you're in a school program where entrepreneurship and business is obviously discussed, and there's certain aspects of law that are incorporated in what you're doing. How do you think about building a community or finding community to make sure that you're connected with people that are going to help you pursue this?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I've been in HBS for like 40 years now, and so it's certainly something where doing the full business school social scene is enough certainly for 2 years, let alone 4. And so something that I've tried to be more intentional about this year is actually connecting with other founders in this class, because I think there's such a valuable asset to have peers that are going through the same journey as you, because there's obstacles every single day. There's so many unknown unknowns that kind of the bigger cohort you can find of founders, to me, is such a huge advantage of being here, and it's something that I'm really trying to throw myself into and just meet people and pick their brains, give my own 2 cents, and hopefully hear some really good feedback in response.
I mean, and really that's what we're trying to get at with the Visionaries and Ventures Convention. It's all about the startup founders, all about people wanting to be in this innovative space and helping people connect, building that community in a very intentional way that hopefully gets people outside of their silos. One thing that I want to think about, though, is we're connecting with people. We're learning from people, like you just said. Being in a cohort of founders is really helpful. What's something you've learned, whether it's in the cohort or in some other part of your life, what's something you've learned from somebody else who has a different perspective?
Yeah, there's endless things. Back in my time in the military, you work with a lot of people from different cultures who really just are have taught me how to relax a lot more, to be honest. And I think as a founder and as a person in the military, I am very much a go forward, keep going type of person, and so just becoming very close with people from different cultures that just have a different perspective on relaxation and staying calm has helped me immensely in terms of broadening my view on how big of a deal is this problem that's right in front of you. Do you really need to spend every ounce of your energy on it, or will it just kind of sort itself out? And so I think I've noticed that as a big change. Obviously a long way to go, but I've noticed that as a big change. And so that's something that's, I think, a big point. And then it goes down to the tactical things that I learn every single day from founders. Like today I had a conversation with someone about how to talk about pricing to early customers, and she had this incredible framework that I'd never thought about. A few weeks ago I ran into a friend, I told her about these demos I was doing, and she's like, "You're an idiot, use Figma, why are you doing it this way?" And even though those small things, which sound minor, but they pile up, all the way to the big things on just look at everything differently. You are who you surround yourself with, and so I think that's a big reason to dive into these environments.
For sure. Thinking back to Laptis, next 6 months, what does success look like?
Yeah, it's a hard question. I think about this a lot, and I do think there's a tension of over defining it versus under defining it. I think there's so much uncertainty in the business, which is good. It means we're in the mix, right? We have products that are live, we have customers, we have users, we have real people that we're getting to treatment every day, and so that's a good thing. It also just adds a lot of complexity and uncertainty, and so on the one hand, I think there are revenue numbers that I have in my mind, to the order of if we could land a big, 5-6 figure contract with a big player on the sending side in the next 6 months, I would consider that successful. I also think just understanding more about the direction in which we should go would be a really big success, meaning I explained the business as this 3-stakeholder environment. Within each stakeholder, there's a bunch of different personas and a bunch of different needs to serve. And so carving out exactly which ones we should and shouldn't serve is a big objective of our early pilots and our current traction, is to just figure that out. So I would consider more clarity and a harder plan on that success as well. And there's many other things, but those are the two that really come to mind.
So final question I have for you is, what piece of advice would you have for other founders? I know you've learned from other founders.
Yeah.
Surely you have something to offer them.
Yeah, I think, so the way I started with Laptis was me going to lawyers and just saying, hey, if you have a patient that needs treatment or a client that needs treatment, I will find it for them. And I, just did it myself, and it was a headache. It was very difficult. It was stressful. It was totally uncertain. But the learning in that was priceless. Meaning, I actually don't know if you can build a business, at least in the field where Laptis is, without doing that, because doing the unscalable thing is kind of it's something that a lot of people say. It seems like a platitude, but I really think the learning you get from that is totally essential. And I wouldn't know how to build on top of it, or where the pain points are, where the gaps are, where the opportunities are, without having thrown myself in it. And so I do think doing is exponentially more rewarding from a learning perspective than just talking to people. And so the quicker that someone can get out there and do, I think the better it'll be. And even more so, it's incredible if you yourself as a founder can be right in the center of version 1, which it would be unscalable if possible. Of course, there are some businesses that's impossible for, but throwing yourself out there as a founder and doing the hard thing and doing the unscalable thing, to me, is essential. It's not fun a lot of times. It's really difficult. It's really stressful, but that's just the nature of the profession, at least in my view. And so, yeah, that's my biggest learning.
Awesome. Well, at the Visionaries and Ventures Convention, we'll be talking about stuff like this and more, developing some practical skills, having workshops, hearing from panelists and keynotes, and obviously making connections to build a startup community. So, Andrew, it's always a pleasure.
Always. All right.